Hi everyone, I am Terry Manrique from Working with Parents, and I am so happy to be joining all of you and this fabulous group of the Intentional Parents group. So I'm looking forward to working and being here with you and hopefully answering some of your questions. So I think we're going to wait. I joined just slightly early so that we can wait for some families to join and see if we have any questions. I did have posted here a poll if you are struggling with your children's behaviors. And so go ahead and feel free to answer that poll, and then we can go ahead and move on. So today we're going to talk about raising a wholesome child, and to tell you a little bit about how we can extend that and how we can broaden that and how we can actually create a child that is going to be successful later on in their years, and what do we need to do early on to help them achieve that, because that's our goal, that's our job, right, is to help our children be successful later on in life so that they can be independent and that they can navigate this world without any insecurities. Right, and that's the main thing I want you to understand, is that we want to raise our children knowing that they're filled with securities and knowing that they can move through this world without having insecurities. So we'll talk about a little bit about me. So give you a little bit of introduction of who I am. Again, my name is Terry Manrique, and my company is Working with Parents, and we've had this company for about 8 years, but I have 25 years experience working with families from 0 to 8 years old. And really what we do is we help parents, give them the tools they need to understand where their child is coming from, understand what their child is working through, and how to help their child work through these emotions that they go through. And we find that children between the ages of 0 to 8 years old, particularly 0 to 5 years old, have the hardest time going through and figuring out their emotions and how to work through their emotions. And that is something that we work very hard on when we work with families, is teaching them and giving parents the tools to work with these children of how to deal with their emotions, because that is the most difficult and challenging thing that parents have a hard time with, is how do we deal with our child's emotions. So what does it mean to, what does it mean for a parent to deal with your child's emotions, right? How do we get past it? How do we create this child to be able to be successful later on in life? We're going to take parenting to another level, right? We want to raise that up slightly higher. We want to go one step level ahead about what we need to do when it comes to parenting. And we'll talk about 6 key components here that really are going to help you shift your mindset of what you're doing and what you can do a little bit more of to help your child go through some of these challenges that they're going through. So we want to make sure that we're raising kids so they can learn to navigate life, right? We want to make sure that they're successful in life. We want to make sure that when we raise them and they're moving on, that they are able to move past some of these obstacles that we sometimes create for them. So one of the things that we're going to talk about as a parent is what your role is. Your role as a parent is to model for them, right? We are their role models. They learn from us. Everything starts and ends with us. And we have a big part in the way our children behave and their behaviors. Many times parents hire me in hopes that I'm going to be changing their child's behaviors, which we do that. But ultimately what we're doing is changing their parents' behaviors. And that is key for many, many parents to understand. When we are done working with our families, they realize that at the end of our sessions, that is them that they needed to make the biggest change. Because it does all start and end with you. Unless, of course, there are some challenges that your children are facing, there's some diagnosis, then yes, it is a little bit challenging for the parent to deal with your child's behaviors. But with the support of specialists and getting the support of learning what you need to do as the parent, it's very important that you start working on yourself so that you can help with your child if they are diagnosed with any other specific challenges, right? So it is still very important for you as the parent to learn how to work with your child and their diagnosis. When you start to learn how to do that, it is much easier for you to navigate their behaviors and stop taking it so personal, because many times as parents, we take it very personal about what they are not doing for us. You are not listening to me. You are not doing what I want you to do. You. When really, it is us that we need to say, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And how can I teach you through this emotional state that you're in? So we're going to talk about applying the CPR philosophy. The CPR philosophy is doing things with compassion, patience, and respect. When you are starting to apply compassion with your children, you're really going to start giving yourself the opportunity to be the authority plus that parent who wants to be the gentle parent, right? Because that's where we are now. We want to be that gentle parent to raise happy, healthy children. We can do that. We can do that all the time when you apply the CPR philosophy. So when you're applying the CPR philosophy and you're applying compassion to your child and you're trying to help your child through some challenges of making decisions, making choices, sticking with those choices, having consequences, I want you to understand that you can still do that with compassion. And the way you do that with compassion is by telling your child, I understand that this is what you want from me. I understand this was the consequence. I understand that you didn't like the choice that you made. I understand that you're not able to go outside after I gave you a consequence that you can't go outside. I understand that you're struggling with your emotions. I understand that you don't like my decision that I made. By you saying that to your child helps them get past it, by you having that compassion and that patience for them to work through those emotions and understand what it is that you're telling them. And by you being the authority, you can go ahead and say, I understand that this is not what you want, but it's my job as your parent to be firm on what we had said. It is my job as the parent to say, I'm sorry, that wasn't the choice that you made. It is my job as your parent to set the rules and the boundaries, right? And you see how we're still applying with the CPR philosophy, we're applying compassion, we're applying patience, and ultimately at the end we are applying respect. Yes, thank you for saying that. You are applying respect by saying, giving them that reflection of saying, I understand how you're feeling. I understand that you're very upset with me. I understand that you don't like my rules. I understand that you don't like the boundaries I'm setting for you. I understand that you want what you want, but you can't get what you want all the time. I understand that. I understand your need for that. I understand why you want that. But however, there are certain things that it's my job to say, but that is not okay. This is not the time nor the place. This is not when we can do this. So it is hard for parents to do that because we want our children to be happy, right? We want to give our children everything that they want. That's what we want for our kids. Absolutely, me included. I have 3 wonderful children who push me every single day, especially my last child. I have raised a strong-willed child who I call my strong leader. And the reason I call her my strong leader is because I helped her navigate that strength, that personality, into a wonderful leader who is thinking outside the box. So if you are a parent who has a strong leader who is dealing with misbehaviors, it is your job to say, I understand you. I understand where you're coming from. I understand your personality type and I understand where you want to go. However, it is my job as your parent to say what those boundaries are to keep you safe, to make sure that you're loved and that you understand that there are rules and there are boundaries. So when you apply the CPR philosophy, it helps you navigate your role as a parent to be the authority without being so extreme, without losing your temper, without losing control of yourself. And I think that's where parents have a hard time, is losing control of themselves. So you have to be able to, let me go ahead and try to remove this questionnaire so that I can see your questions. So that you can go ahead and get past that, right? So I think that's the hardest thing for us, for parents, is how do I get past my strong-willed child? How do I navigate them? How do I help them? So you do that by applying the CPR philosophy. Another thing I want you to understand is what the whole part of respect is, respecting quality time. You know, your children really need you to be there when it comes to quality time. I encourage every parent that is here that if you have these devices at home, whether it's iPhones, tablets, computers, laptops, between the hours of 5 and 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night when your children are awake, that you actually put these children to these devices to the side. Put them in a docking station. Remove them from your sight, out of mind, right? And that goes for you as the parent as well. Make sure that you have a docking station and that it's put away so that you can stay focused with the task at hand. Because when we get distracted with our phones, with our computers, we lose time, right? We lose time in connecting with our kids. We lose time with what needs to happen next. And before we know it, we're rushing through our evening hours. And that's when it becomes the most stressful, because we're not doing a good job with time management. We're not doing a good job managing our time with our children. So therefore, you're you're losing that respect for your kids of saying, you don't matter right now. My outside world, my work, my other activities matter most. So respect your children with quality time. Give them the quality time that they deserve and that they want. Now, does that mean you have to stop everything? No. As long as you give your children good 15 to 20 minutes of quality time, one-on-one, undistracted, fully focused, is enough to fulfill them. So again, when you're home with your children, try to have a docking station for your devices so that you can have quality time with your family, because that is something that is lacking so much. And I encourage you to put those to the side and not introduce these devices to our children who are 8 and under, if you possibly can. Limit yourself with these devices as much as you possibly can, because they are hurting our children and they're hurting our families tremendously. So another thing is teach by example. That's number 3. So number 1 was apply the CPR philosophy. Number 2 is develop patience, right? We have to develop patience for our children. We have to let them know that we know that they're learning these new tasks. They're learning how to taste new foods. They're learning how to deal with their emotions. They're learning how to navigate their world and their selves through this thing we call life, right? So we have to be very patient with our children and allow them the opportunity to learn and to grow. 3 was respect, is applying respect and respecting quality time with them. Teach by example is number 4. Right? We have to teach by example. If you want your children to eat healthy, you need to eat healthy yourself. If you want your children to work out and be active and be outside, you need to show that and do that yourself as well. If you want your children to speak to you respectfully, you have to model that when you're speaking to your partner. How do we speak to each other at home? How do you speak to your neighbors? How do you speak to your server? How do you speak to those people around you in our outside community? Because the truth is that they're watching you all the time. They're watching you, they're learning from you, They're taking it in, and you're modeling for them of what you should be doing. So always remember, teach by example, and know that your little ones are watching you and listening all the time. Even though they're on the other side playing and active, they are paying attention. And I know this because I see this day in and day out when I work with families in their homes. I see it all the time, and it's important for you to realize that this is what they're doing. So, one thing about teaching about examples, teaching through examples, is how you model what you're doing for your children, right? So I know that one of the things that we talk about with families is communication skills. Communication skills are very important for your children. You have to learn how to communicate effectively with each other, and you have to learn how to communicate effectively with your children. Communication is usually the heart of the problem at home. When you don't communicate effectively, you're going to lose your children, and this is what we call number 5, earning credibility. Mean what you say and say what you mean all the time. Because when you don't do that, you're sending your children mixed messages, right? Your children are counting on your word. So as a parent, if you're telling your child, Joey, I need you to do X, Y, Z. If not, this is going to happen. And then you get distracted because you're not doing a good job with time management, or you get distracted because you're on your device, and then you don't follow through. Joey's going to count on you again for not following through, and therefore he's not going to listen to you the first time anymore, because he's going to know that you're going to give empty threats, and it's based on how you will feel like you're parenting that day. Because I know there are many of you are parenting based on how you feel, and that is not setting a good example of what you should be doing as a parent. You need to parent consistently. You need to parent on and let your children rely on you, right? They have to rely on your word. You have to earn credibility. And the more you can earn credibility, the easier it is for you to move past these hurdles that children are meant to do. Because it is their job as children to cross the line. It is their job as children to push the boundaries, right? This is what they're supposed to do. This is healthy development. But what's not healthy development for them is you not doing anything about it. So I know that there's many parents who say, pick your battles, right? I'm sure many of you have heard, oh, I want to pick my battles. You know, is this a battle I want to pick? Well, you know what? When you don't say something, ultimately what you're doing is you're giving permission that it's okay. Your children are going by your lead. They're taking your lead. And if they do something that's inappropriate, and they do something that shouldn't be done, and you don't say something, they're going to do it again. And then they're going to do it again. Why? Because we think as a parent that if I don't say something, maybe it will go away. Maybe if I ignore it, it will go away. You can ignore it, but you also need to say something at the same time so that your child knows which way they need to go. So if your child is doing something, let's keep it simple, and your child is eating a snack and they just throw it on the floor because they're relying on you as the parent to always pick up after them, they're going to continue to do that again and again. But if you stop and you teach your child, oh, excuse me, Joey, that's not the trash. Please pick up your garbage and throw it away. Now your child's going to know, oh, okay, this is not what I need to do. I need to clean up after myself. I need to keep up with myself. I need to take care of myself. Plus, you're teaching your child that if you're doing this at home, are they going to do this outside the world? Are they going to do this when they're out and about? That they're going to take their trash and they're just going to throw it to the side? It's something that simple that we're training our kids on, and we don't think about those simple things. This is how we start setting expectations, right? This is how we start training our kids. How do we work through our world? It may be so simple, but it's something that they need to learn to do because now they're managing themselves. That will go into like their toys, right? When you teach your children, when you're done with that area, you need to clean up after yourself. Then you can go on to the next. But you can't say something and not follow through. When you don't follow through on your word, your children are getting confused and you're giving them mixed messages. So it's so important for you to be consistent. It's so important for you to earn credibility. Mean what you say and say what you mean all the time. And if you are a parent who says something in your head and you're thinking something and you're saying, should I say something about that? Yes or no? Yes, you should say something. That little voice inside you is that's your intuition. Listen to that little voice inside you and say, I didn't like exactly what he just did. I didn't like the way he said that. I didn't like the way he did that. I didn't like the way... You're not being picky. You just know what is appropriate and what's not appropriate. What you need to do is just teach your child how to do that. And sometimes I think parents get confused, especially when I work with parents who are from children who are from 0 to 8 years old, especially 0 to 5. Am I being too strong? Am I being too harsh on my child? No, because you're teaching them the right way of doing things. We just need to be patient on how do we teach them and not think that it's going to happen right away. There is going to take them some time for them to learn some of these skill sets. It's not going to happen overnight, right? So here's where we go into number 6, life skills. Teaching your children life skills matters, right? Teaching them to clean up after themselves, teaching them how to set the table, teaching them to prep their food. If you are having a hard time with your children who are not eating healthy, you need to get them involved in prepping. Get them bring them to the kitchen. Bring them in with you. Start having them prep food with you. The more you can have them prep food with you, the better it is for them to be open to eating more new foods, right? So you want to make sure you bring them into the kitchen. Allow them to come into the kitchen. If they say, Mom, what are we eating? You know what? Why don't you come into the kitchen and come and help me? You can help me prep these foods. They're going to be more excited and be more adventurous about trying new things. So it's very important for you to do that. My son, so I'm going to go ahead and answer a couple of questions before we move on. So if your children who need their laptops for their homework, I get that. I understand that because everything in our world is with our laptops, right? So the way we are moving, even with children who are in 2nd grade, are starting using laptops as well, right? And using tablets to do their homework. That's okay. But it's your job as a parent is to manage that time. Okay, so it is your job as a parent to manage their time, to make sure that you do this in a central area, especially if it's a child that you can't trust, right? We have to earn credibility and we have to earn trust both with the child and with the parent. So you have to start earning that trust, and your child has to start earning that trust as well. And it's mutual, and you have to teach your children, you're learning to trust me, and I'm learning to trust you. But this is a mutual trust that we have to build. And if I can't trust you, then I have to monitor you more. If you don't want me to monitor you as much, that's fine. We can slowly give you that ability to earn that trust. But the second that I find out that I'm losing that trust, we're going to have to bring you into the central area for me to monitor what you're doing so that I can trust that you're actually staying on task and doing your homework and not jumping on doing something else that you're not supposed to be. So we have to earn trust with our children, and you can earn trust with your children as young as 2 years old, right? We're constantly earning trust with each other. They're learning trust from you, you're earning trust from them, and that is part of the CPR philosophy. And then it's important for you to realize that it's not just a one-way street. It is a two-way street, because sometimes your kids can't trust you because you're not doing your job. And you're not doing your job because you're tired. And you're not doing your job because you're inconsistent. And when you're inconsistent with what you're doing, you're creating a more chaotic environment for yourself. So I need you to make sure that you understand that it's important to apply consistency as much as you can, because the more consistent you are, the easier it's going to be for you to parent and move past some of these obstacles that we go through. Does teaching and correcting include yelling at them? So this is where you apply the CPR philosophy, right? The CPR philosophy helps you with the yelling, okay? You don't need to do a lot of yelling, okay? Parents, the only reason parents yell is because the ego takes over. Our ego takes over. You're not listening to me. You're not doing what I want. And they do fall into the trap of repeating. Joey, I need you to clean your toys up. Joey, I need you to put the trash away. Joey, right? We never give our children enough time to process what we want from them. And we're not training our kids early on. So the earlier you train your kids, the better it's going to be for you. I'm going to give you a simple example. I have a child who's my youngest child, who is my strong leader, who I have worked with since she has been, since 2 years old. I've worked with her, and I made sure I earned credibility, and I made sure I meant what I said so that she understands where I'm coming from, right? So here's one of the things that we talked about. Chores. It's very important for your kids to do chores, not just because we want them to help around the house, but because we want them to be independent individuals. Because we know that one day these children are going to be going off to college, and these children are going to be on their own, and they need to learn how to master life skill sets, right? And you as a parent have to teach them these life skill sets. So don't do everything for them. Teach them how to do these things for themselves, okay? So, for example, my daughter, who is 15, my strong leader, I would ask her, please go and throw the recycle. It's time to take the recycle out to the trash. Okay, Mom, I'll do it later. Now, how many of you hear your children say, I'll do it later? I'm sure all of you always hear your children say, okay, I'll do it later. And yet, later never comes, right? Well, now I know that I can't trust her later. I can't trust her word, right? Her word doesn't mean anything to me anymore. So the next time I ask her for something and she says, Mom, I'll do it later, that's when I will say, you know what? Last time I asked you to throw something, I asked you to do something and you told me to do it later. And you never did it. Later never came. So, unfortunately, I cannot wait till later. Unfortunately, I need you to do it now. But Mom, I have to do XYZ. But Mom, I'm running late to do XYZ. But Mom, all these excuses. I'm sorry. I trusted your word and you never followed through. So right now, I need you to do it now. And the next time, when you say later, and if you do it later, then I can trust that you're going to do it later. But right now, I need you to earn your trust. So she has to do it right now. I'm sorry, you can't go anywhere. You can't do anything until you've done what I asked you to do. But Mom, I'm sorry. You need to do what I asked you to do. CPR philosophy. You do it with compassion, patience, and respect. You don't lose your temper. There's no yelling. There's no losing your control. There's no adult tantrum. You have to stay firm, stay planted, and be consistent. Eventually, your child will get that message. Eventually, they'll do it. And you can let them know, listen, you're wasting more time. If you really need to go, I recommend that you do it right now and get it over with. Because you're wasting time arguing with me. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say okay. I'm not going to give in. I'm going to wait for you to do what I asked you to do. And this is something that you do with your kids who are older, right? So you can do it. You just have to be the parent to put your foot down and say, I don't care how long you're going to try to get out of this. But the next time I ask you to do something, are they going to learn from that? Yes. Why? Because they're going to count on you as the parent that you said your word and you mean what you say and you say what you mean. And they're not going to test you. They're going to test you less and less and less and less. Right? So it's so important for you to teach your children that. It's so important to stay with your word. So if there's something that you don't like, if there's something that you've seen that you don't like, if there's a little voice in your head telling you something differently, then you need to make sure that you say something. you know what? I really didn't like the way you said that. Can we communicate that differently? Can we say that a little differently? How about we try that again? How about you say, hey, Mom, can I have, or can I borrow, or can I please X, Y, and Z? Because communication skills are so important for your kids. You're teaching your children how to communicate with you and how you are communicating with them. So if you don't teach them the right way, they're never going to know. So as early on as 2 years old, when they start whining and crying, and you have to stop, give them the time to relax, get them to control their emotions and say, are we ready? Are you done? Let's breathe. Can we move on? Okay, now, what do you need? How can we say that differently? What can we do differently, right? So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, this is just, a half hour of talking to you about how we can start changing the way we communicate with our kids. I'm an author of 2 books, Revive Your Parenting, How to Apply CPR Philosophy with Compassion, Patience, Respect, and then Change Your Perspective, Improve Your Parenting. And that book, we talk about a lot more. We talk about how we help our children to deal with their emotions, right? How to self-regulate, how to self-soothe. But really, my main thing here today is I want you to learn to apply the CPR philosophy with compassion, patience, and respect. Because the more you can do that, the easier it's going to be for you to understand your child and to go into this parenting world and this parenting life with a different mindset of that's not about me, right? It's not about you, it's about your child. What do I need to do for you to help you get through this moment? What do I need to do for you to help you pass this episode that you're going through? Do I need to push you away and take you to another room? Do I put you in a timeout? No, you don't have to do that. 1, 2, 3s, timeouts, and sending them to their rooms doesn't work. They need you there. They need you right there in their surroundings to be that role model, to show them what it's like to be calm and to sit there through that moment with them. I understand you're upset, buddy. I'm so sorry. But Mom, I really wanted to go outside. You told me I can go. I did tell you, but I also said that you needed to do X, Y, B. The rule of 3. This is how we set yourself up and your children for success. The rule of 3. You set the expectation, you set the consequence, you follow through. Now, consequences, I know that are very hard for parents because how do I come up with a consequence? What's a consequence? Consequences are simple. Don't overthink consequences. Consequences is not about the punishment. Consequence is about changing the behavior. Okay? It's not about taking things away. It's about changing things. So, for instance, simple consequence with my daughter. She didn't want to take, she didn't take the things out that I asked her to take out, the recycle, and she told me she was going to do it later, and she never did. And I'm not going to nag her, right? I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt to say, maybe eventually she'll take it out by the end of the day. Well, she didn't. But maybe now I have another task for her, and I need her to do that task right now. So, guess what? The consequence is there is no later. I cannot wait for you later. I need you to do it now. So you're going to do that now, plus you're going to do what I had asked you to do earlier, which is taking out the recycle. So not only are you going to do the task that I asked you to do now, which is maybe unloading the dishes, but once you're done with that, then you're going to have to go and unload and take out the recycle. Do you see how we kind of have those consequences kind of follow through with what you match up? The consequence is if your child's talking nasty to you, has a bad tone, is yelling at you. You know what? That's not how we communicate. I need you to try that again. I need you to speak to me differently. You know what? Walking away from me, stomping your feet, that's not appropriate. I need you to come back and let's do that again. I need you to come back and try that again. So really the consequence is replacing the negative behavior with the positive behavior. Why? Because we want to break bad habits. Because that's all this is. Your kids have developed bad habits because you've never said anything to correct the bad habit. All you've done is looked away and say, oh, they'll grow out of it. Or, oh, maybe if I don't say anything, they won't do it again. But they're learning. They're learning by trial and error. What works, what doesn't work. Oh, if I do this and no one says anything, it might be okay. I guess it's okay because no one said anything. So I need you to understand that is so important, that it is important for you to listen to that little voice in your head. When you see something, hear something that you don't like, it's your job as the parent to teach your child how to do it correctly. It's not a punishment. We're not being upset with them. We're teaching them. These are called teachable moments, right? Every day with your child is a teachable moment. So the more you can understand that, the easier parenting will be for you. Because when you see your child doing something that you don't like, you have to teach them how to do it the appropriate way. I see what you're doing, Joey, but you know what? This is how we need to do it. Or let me show you how it's done. Or let me show you what you need to do instead. Right? Because kids are learning on their own. They're figuring out this thing called life on their own. But it's your job as a parent. That's why we all do things differently. The way I clean my house is very different than the way you clean your house. So the way I teach my children how to do things is the way I teach them, and they're going to learn from me, right? Just like when in your house, you're going to do something differently. So every house is different, but you do have to teach them based on what you want and what you want to see more of. So think about when you say, is that a battle worth, that's not a battle worth touching. Well, yeah, no, it's not a battle, but it is something that you want to talk about. It is something that you want to teach them. It is something that you want to say something about, right? It's very important that you do that. Consistency is so important. Okay? So, I really want to talk about life skills, okay? Because our world is changing so much, and I don't think we're doing enough of teaching our kids the basic life skills, okay? We think as parents that the more we do for them, the better we are as parents. Well, actually, it's the less you do that for them, the better you are as parents. The less you do and the more you teach, the better you are as parents, right? So we want to start teaching our kids how to be independent, how to cook, how to fold laundry, how to do their laundry, how to pack their snacks, how to clean the house, dust, vacuum, throw out the trash, get dressed, make their beds. All these little tasks, there's many, many things as we do as parents that we do so much and we don't ever give our children the opportunity to do it for us. The sooner you do this for your child, the better it's going to be. I will tell you one thing. Children who are between the ages of 2 to 5 years old are the most eager to help around the house. This is why children succeed so much in the preschool classrooms, because they all have tasks. They all have something to do. We as teachers, my background is early education. I was a teacher for 7 years with a classroom of 15 to 25 kids, and I was able to manage that many children for a reason. And that reason is each child had a job. Each child had a task, right? And I had expectations for them. The more expectations you have for your children, the more your children are going to thrive. And the more you teach your children how to do things, the more their self-esteem is going to be fulfilled. Because you have to realize those things that seem so easy to us and come so naturally to us do not come easy for them and is not natural for them. It is something that they're learning and they're really realizing, oh, I didn't realize I can do this. Oh, I didn't realize I was able to accomplish this task. Oh, I didn't realize I had the strength to do this. And that slowly encourages their self-esteem. So just like any human being, as an adult, we want to be challenged all the time. If we're not challenged, we're unhappy, right? We feel like we're not fulfilling. We don't have enough purpose in our life because nothing's challenging us to that next level, right? We want to always continue to grow no matter what age you're at. You want to have some kind of fulfillment, some kind of a task, some kind of goal that you need to accomplish, right? That's how we are fulfilled in life, is what is our purpose? What are we here for? What's going to make us feel better to move to the next level, right? We always want to be to that next level. We always want to accomplish more. So do your children. And sometimes we're putting a handicap on our children because we're thinking as the parent, my job is to do everything for you. Well, no. Your job is to teach them everything so that they can do for themselves. Children who are challenging want to be challenged. And you can challenge them in a very healthy manner. And you challenge them by using the CPR philosophy with compassion, with patience, and respect. So I'm going to see if I can go through some of these questions and help and answer some of these questions. Let's see. Yes, teachable moments. Every day is a teachable moment with your child. If you can go through life with your children being a teachable moment, it will not be as daunting, right? Because I know that with parents, when you have, especially when you have children 5 and under and you have a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old, or you have an infant, a 2-year-old, and a 4-year-old, I know how hard it is. I know how busy it can be. I know how stressful it could be. But this is why you set yourself up for success, right? And this is what I tell my families. You want to set yourself up for success and your child up for success. The more you can set yourself up and your child up for success, the better it's going to be. Right? That's why you do the rule of 3. You set the expectation, you set the consequence, you follow through. You're setting everybody up for success, right? Everybody's on the same page. Everyone knows what we need to do. Everybody knows what needs to happen, right? So the more you can do that, the better it's going to be for you and your family. So, and realize that, yes, you know what, your child, let's say your child did something and it irritated you for a second. You need to realize that was not intentional. Your children are learning. They're learning by trial and error. They're learning what's around them. Can I play with this? Oops, I just broke it. Ooh, that was something I shouldn't have been playing with. But really, your job was to say, hey, that is not an area that you should be in. This is not an area for you. This area, however, is. When your children are in the classrooms, in our classrooms, in the preschool classrooms, I'm sure there's many of you who have children who go to daycare or preschool, and you see shelves of toys, but they're not all over the floor. When you go in that classroom, it's not a hot mess like your living room is or the playroom is, right? It's not. Everything is in its place. Why? Because children know where everything belongs. They also know what's open and they also know what's closed, but they also know what their expectations are. You take out a toy, you play with it, you put it away, you take something else out, right? That's the expectations in the classroom. That's the same expectations that you can have in your home, right? Whatever those expectations are for you in your home, you can easily apply that in your home. But you have to set that up. You have to train your child. This is an area you can be in. This is an area that you cannot be in. This area is not for you. If your Joey starts walking it, oh, Joey, we can't go in that area. That's not for you. We need to go back to whatever area you want them to be. So I need you to understand that you can train them, but you also have to be consistent about it. It can't happen based on your energy that day, based on how you are parenting that day, if you have the energy or not, right? So you have to understand you have to be consistent in order for your child to be successful. It's not fair for your child if you're inconsistent. It's not fair for your child if you're not doing your job. And if you have a child who is constantly having tantrums, meltdowns, having these moments on a regular basis, it's because they're screaming for change. And that change has to come from you, not them. It has to come from you. You are the leader. You're the one who has to take the lead. It all starts and ends with you. So if your children are out of control at home, it's because you're not doing your job appropriately. It's because you're not consistent enough. So I need you to understand that consistency is number one. Set yourself up and your kids up for success. Let me see. I don't have a lot of questions, more just consequences replaced with bad behaviors, not good behavior. Yes, consequence is not about the punishment. It's not. It's about changing the behavior. We want to change the behavior. Let's see if there's any other questions here. I apologize. It's so hard to look through this. How can we... So you can pretty much apply this at any age. The earlier you apply these concepts to your children, the better it's going to be. One thing I will tell you right now, do not think that I should wait till they're older to start implementing some of these concepts. The sooner you implement concepts, the better it is for your child. Because the longer they develop bad habits, the harder they are to break, right? This is based on our own personal experience. What we get as adults get into bad habits, and the longer we get into bad habits, the harder it is for us to break, right? So if your child is doing something, you want to, don't think that, oh, he's just 2 years old, he doesn't understand. No, that's not true. He understands clearly. He may not be verbal, right? He may not be verbal and able to articulate, but he is nonverbal, right? Your children are communicating with you non-verbally. So your children as early as 6 months old are able to learn a lot of concepts. I'm going to give you a simple example, and hopefully we have enough time. If you have children who are 6 months and up and starting to become mobile, and there's a lot of things about this tiny example that you can apply in other areas. But this example really sets you up with understanding your children and their personality type, if they're a strong-willed child, if they're if they're complying, if they're mild-mannered. This example is going to help you understand who your child is. If your child is starting to be mobile and you put them in the center of the carpet area on top of a blanket, and you have them in the top of the blanket with all their toys surrounding them, all their toys, everything they need is right around them, right? And they're mobile. They're starting to, let's say they're starting to army crawl, okay? And they army crawl right past all the toys. These toys are for them. They have enough things around them to keep them busy, but now we are starting to understand this child's personality type. They're outside thinkers. They want to push their boundaries, right? They want to explore the world. They want to risk. They're risk takers, right? They want to see where they can go. They want to push the envelope. They want to cross the line. They're doing that right away. So if they pass all their toys and they go straight to the remote, they go straight to the basket, they go straight to something that is not appropriate for them, we know we have a child who's a risk taker, right? We already know, now we know what personality type this child is. They're outside of the box thinkers, they're risk takers. They most likely might be a strong-willed child because they're determined. Now, what you would do as a parent is not pick up that remote and put it away, out of sight, out of mind. No. We want to teach them that this remote is not for them. So you leave the remote there because we don't want to remove the problem. We want to fix the problem, right? We don't want to remove the problem. We want to help them how to change the behavior. So what you do is you pick up your child and you put them back into the circle. No, Sam, these are your toys. The remote stays there. Well, what is Sam going to do? Well, what's her personality type? Well, maybe her personality type's mild-mannered. Okay, I get it. I understand. I'm going to stay here and play with my toys. She's not going to challenge you. Now we know a little bit more about her personality type. She's not a risk taker, right? She's just going to sit there and she's going to listen to you. So now we know that she's an easy child to work with. And we're not probably going to have to do a lot of redirecting with her. She's going to do a pretty good job. But then we have our strong-willed children, our risk takers, the ones who want to explore the world more. And they're going to say, I think I'm going to go back for that remote. And they're going to crawl right back out. And your job is to pick them back up and put them in the middle circle. No, Sam, these toys are for you. The remote stays there. Now, do you understand how I didn't say no only? I said no with other words, right? We want to encourage extending their vocabulary, right? So she's going to do it 5 times. She's going to do it 10 times. She's going to do it 15 times. She's going to do it as many times as she needs until she processes what you want. You're setting the tone here. You're setting boundaries here. You're setting expectations here. And what you're setting is, no, Sam, this is where I need you to be. Eventually, your child will understand, oh, I get it. I cannot go outside this area. I need to stay here. Okay, I will comply and I will play with my toys. Do you see how it takes a child? And every child is so different. So different. Every child will pick up that concept faster than others. Some will have maybe in 5 times, some maybe 15 times, some maybe 20 times. It doesn't matter how many times. What matters is that you're consistent and you're persistent with them. And you're doing it with compassion, patience, and respect. But you're training them that your word matters. You're training them that, you know what? This is what I want from you. I understand you want to explore. I understand you want to cross the line. I respect that. I understand that. But these are boundaries that I have to help you develop. Because when you do that with something so simple, when you can add it as they get older and older and older and older. And if you do this right away, when you're ready to have your second child, you've already developed the foundation with that first child. So now you focus a little bit more on your older child and you can do all your focusing on your second child and train them the same way. And then it becomes a pattern, right? Because now you can really balance both and it doesn't become a hectic world in your household where I don't even know where to start. Well, you start with your first and you set yourself and your child up for success. So the more you can do that, the better it's going to be. And think about the way you're parenting. Think about the habits that you're starting. Is this a habit I want to create? Who am I developing this bad habit for? Is this habit for me or for my child? Who is this going to benefit? Am I starting this habit for me or for my child? Who is this benefiting? Is it because I'm too lazy and I don't want to do my job? Or is this really going to help my child? So think about those things. Think about what you do and how you parent, because your children are going to take that lead. So please, whatever you do, you need to parent based on what works for you, but also be very consistent, set expectations, and again, set yourself and your child up for success, because that's the goal. We all want to be successful, and your kids can't be successful if you're not guiding them correctly. So make sure that we have teachable moments. Make sure that you teach them life skills, because life skills do matter. Earn credibility with your kids. Mean what you say and say what you mean. Teach by example, right? Role model for your kids because they are watching you all the time. Respect them by having quality time, right? Respect them by not losing your control of your own emotions. Be calm. Develop patience, right? Be very patient. Give them the time to process what you want from them. Allow them the time to make that connection from the emotional state of thinking to the higher functioning state of thinking. Oh, I get it. I see what you want me to do. Oh, I understand. And give them the time to work through their emotions. Don't think that they're going to get over their emotions in 2 minutes or 3 minutes. It may take them 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, maybe an hour for them to get through their emotions. to finally, from start to finish. It's okay for them to work through those emotions. That's how they're learning how to self-regulate. That's how they're learning how to calm themselves down. And they have to do it on their own. You can't do that for them. So don't put that Band-Aid on and try to distract them. Unless they're young. If they're 15 months and under, you can easily distract them by saying, oh, Joey, look, let's go play with over here. Then they can change that. But when they get older, 2 and up, they have to take the time to process and work through those emotions. And you have to give them the time to do that. So work on doing this on a regular basis. And then again, applying the CPR philosophy with compassion, patience, and respect. If you want to learn more about these concepts, and you have agreed with what we have said here, we are working really hard to, by the end of August, hopefully August of 2019, we are creating online courses for you to walk you through all these steps and beyond. So if that is something of interest to you and you want to learn more of how to change these behaviors, we'll take you from the start to finish. This was a little bit of everything because I like to kind of talk about a little bit of everything because everyone has different scenarios and different challenges. So I kind of want to touch on a little bit of everything. But this will be a very program. These courses are laid out very nicely for you. So if you are interested in some online parent courses, I encourage you to check out our website at workingwithparents.com and sign up for our waiting list until we are ready to launch our online courses. So, or you can start now and you can purchase our books. You can go on our website and our books are on there as well. Or you can just directly reach out to me on our website and contact me and we can do a one-on-one because I do work with families in the homes. We provide them one-on-one. And I'm with families 3 nights a day, 3 consecutive nights for 4 hours each night between 5 and 9 o'clock at night. So I know what's happening in your household. I get your pain. I see what you're going through. I understand what your struggles are, but I also know that you can get through it. I also know that you can make the change when you are learning the proper skills and giving yourself the proper tools of how to change what you're doing to change what your child's doing. So remember, if your child is out of control, they're screaming for change. And your children who are challenging want to be challenged. And they need to be challenged in a healthy manner. And they can be challenged when you apply the CPR philosophy with compassion, patience, and respect, right? And make sure that you are consistent with what you're doing and understand that every moment is a teachable moment. Thank you so much. This was amazing. I'm so glad I was here to give you some of these resources. I hope you learned a lot. If you want to learn more, come to workingwithparents.com, check out what our services are and see how we can help you. And if you want some direct answers, feel free to connect with us on Instagram Live, or not Instagram Live, on Instagram. You can DM me. It's Working with Parents. Or you can send me a direct message on Facebook as well on our page with Working with Parents. So everything's Working with Parents. Our website, our Instagram, and our Facebook. Very easy for you to connect with us. So I look forward to connecting. If you need some help and support, please make sure you get the support that you need. Think the beauty about these courses that we're doing here today is, I think what we are teaching parents is that we need to start enhancing our experience as parents. Coaching is about enhancing your performance, right? We want to enhance in our performance. So why not get that development help that you need, right? We have personal development. Why not do family development? It's going to help you overall. So I'm so glad I was here. Make sure you watch the rest of these videos. We have some great speakers. I can't wait to watch them. I watched the first one already. She was phenomenal, and I can't wait to watch the rest. So if you need to connect, I look forward to connecting. Thank you so much.